This video is all about eligibility and the stack. Eligibility describes what you're allowed to do at any given time. In other words, what card you can play at any given time. Okay? And it's quite important. The most obvious distinction is certain guard positions can make certain blows. For example, poste donna destra, my current guard position, can make mandibular fendente and the thrust. Now, this is not strictly true to life, because in real life you can make almost any blow from almost any guard, but that makes for a useless game and a useless learning experience, and so we have limited the options considerably. So, from my poste donna destra, I can, for example, attack my opponent who's in tutto punto di ferro, because on his tutto punto di ferro card there is an upside down, as he sees it, little man here with all of the little segments around him filled in, which means I can attack him with any blow. This is not always true. If he was in, for example, frontale di corona instead, the mandibular fendente wedge is empty, therefore I cannot attack with a mandibular fendente, therefore from my poste donna destra, the only action I can attack with would be the thrust. Okay? So, let's leave him into the tutto punto di ferro, and I choose to attack with a mandibular fendente. Okay? And I play it on my right because it's coming from my right. Okay? If you need help visualizing that, if you look at the icon at the bottom, which tells you what the card is, okay? The wedge that is filled in, the little sword there, is on the right. So you place it on the right. Now, what can my opponent do for tutto punto di ferro? Well, according to his eligibility symbol, he can strike a mandibular fendente, or a mandibular sultana, or a thrust. In these circumstances, he could parry, or if he had a speed advantage, counterattack with mandibular fendente, or he can parry with mandibular sultana. He cannot use a thrust against my mandibular fendente. And we know that because on the mandibular fendente card, there is this upside down little man, as I see it, which has a mandibular fendente, a mandibular sultana, and a reversal sultana wedges filled in, and this tells him what actions he can play against this card. So, he chooses one, mandibular sultana, eligible from his guard position, and eligible against my action. He places it on the right because it's a mandibular. And because it is a parry, it travels from right to left. And it meets my blow like so. Okay? Now, the sun icons do not line up, and therefore his parry has beaten my sword wide, and he can now strike with, for example, a reversal attack. Because my stack is on my right, I have to parry, I have to defend myself with a mandibular. I can see from this icon that against the reversal mezzano, the only mandibular I can do is a mandibular sultana. Okay? So I find one, carefully there earlier, and I play it on top of my stack. I can see that we are in Risolaro because the sun icons do not match up. Therefore, my stack and his shift across. Which means from this position, I can strike at him with a reversal, and he has to parry with a mandibular. So I could, for example, strike at him with a reversal fendente. Any reversal will do if it has the attack icon on it. So, if I was to parry his reversal mezzano with a mandibular sultana, which I know is eligible because of the little icon there, and the sun icons line up, we enter the Stretto process, which means either I will play a Stretto remedy, or my opponent will. And for eligibility on Stretto remedies, etc., please see our Stretto process video. Okay, let's see that again from the other side, just to make sure it's all clear. So, I remain in posture on a destra, but my opponent is in dentitude go. Okay, so the sword is changed on his left-hand side. I can see from the eligible strikes icon, the 7 sword symbol that's facing me on his card, that I can attack with any card. Okay? From my posture on a destra, the only 2 blows I can make are my drill and then take all the thrust. So I can attack with either one of those. I can also see, because I can read upside down, that the only actions he can make are a thrust and a reversal sultana. So I can choose my action such that it's possible to choose an action such that you can attack in a way that your opponent cannot defend himself. Right? This is one of the fastest ways to win the game. If you line up your guards just right and you choose just the right attack, you can find yourself in a situation where your opponent has no eligible strike, because the only strikes they can make cannot parry the card that you are attacking with. Okay? So, in this case, let's keep it simple. I attack with a magic offender. Okay? My opponent parries with a reversal sultana. Okay? And we can see from the sun icons lining up that we have immediately entered the Stretto process. What we can do here, please see our Stretto process video. If my opponent had parried with a reversal sultana that had the sun icon on the other side, his parry would push our weapons over to this side. Okay? So the stacks move. Which means from here he can play any mandrito attack, and I would have to defend against it with a reversal of some description. Reversal sultana, for example. Like so. Here the sun icons line up, so we're into the Stretto process. Okay. If I attack with a thrust, I place it in the middle. Okay? And when my opponent, who is in 2 to 4 to be ferro, parries, it automatically succeeds, unless I'm fainting or doing something clever. Okay? And that pushes my weapon and his over to this side. Okay? If he had been in a different guard and parried with a reversal sultana instead, that would have pushed us over to here. And this placement of my stack tells me what I can continue with. So from here, I would have to continue with a reversal, and from here, I would have to continue with a mandrito. Now, cards that you can strike with all have the attack icon on it. Now, the only exception to that is the person with the prudential advantage can effectively add the strike icon to the sultani cards which don't have them printed on. So, let us answer a question that has been raised by some of our players. When can you play a thrust? You can play a thrust, as I just showed you, as a direct attack. So you're out of measure, and this is the first action of the fight, and you place it in the middle. However, you can also use thrust anytime you want to strike and you're in a position, or you're eligible, you have the initiative and you can strike. So, for example, I have played a Mandrito Fendente, and my opponent had played a Mandrito Sultano, and we are not in the Zola Stretto, we remain in the Zola Largo. Okay? At this point, they can play any reversal, but the thrusts are neither Mandrito nor reversal. Okay? They are just generic. They can be played. At that point, if I parry it, it automatically remains in the Zola Largo, so if I was to play a Mandrito Sultano here, there is no sun icon on the thrust card, on the punto cards, so automatically Zola Largo.